Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dreamleapers Inspiration. I'm your host, Harriet Cole. Honored, as always, to be with you today. Thank you for checking in. Thank you for checking in with yourself and with those of us who choose to gather here in the moment and also on demand to be inspired, to think about how we can move forward with focus, with intention, with purpose. And it seems like there's so many distractions. Do you feel like that? There's so many things on the list. The list is long of things to do, and sometimes it just can feel overwhelming. I know it can feel like that for me, and in talking to many people, I listen to that same thing. And yet, it doesn't have to be. And yet, we can make each moment count if we focus on it in that way. And that doesn't mean that every moment has to be perfect either, which is something that I wanted us to tap into today. But I want to set it up. There are a couple of things that have happened recently that I thought might be interesting to share with you. Number one, I participated in something called the Creativity Conference. The Creativity Conference. It was held at a place called The Church, a former church in Sag Harbor, Long Island, my happy place, where I'm not normally there this early in the year. But I went out east to participate in this event, and it was fascinating. There were, I think, about 7 of us who were speakers in a day-long conference, and people represented every possible subject area as you can imagine. Mine, I did a workshop and guided meditation on called Confidence is Your Superpower. And that was really fun. And then there was someone who was a biologist and historian and looked at the evolution of man from gorilla to the inventions that we have created today and how we live. There was a poet, there was a math teacher, a memoirist, all kinds of people representing different ways into the space of creativity. And what was fascinating in listening to people was to kind of see process. People did not get to wherever there was for them by simply working hard and believing in themselves. It was more being willing to mess up, being willing to not know all the answers, being willing for things to be messy sometimes so that they could experience something and learn. And even the person who was sharing like the history of humankind described kind of the missteps and challenges that human beings have had over the millennia in order to get to where we are today, that there's never a straight line. Things don't just happen in a straight line always forever in a particular way. And I think that that's a helpful thing for us to know, because oftentimes we feel the pressure to perform, to succeed, to be excellent at whatever it is that we do. And it doesn't always work like that. And that doesn't mean that anything's wrong. It just means that that's kind of how life goes, that there are ups and downs and there are wonderful positives and lows as well. And all of it makes up a life. That was inspiring to me, especially listening to these people who were very high-end scholars. And let's see Michelle Trayton. Hi there. Happy to be here listening to you. I'm happy you are here. So then I want to flip to another moment. So I teach journalism, intro to journalism at FIT here in New York City. I started teaching a class, I guess this is my 3rd semester. And in my current class, we had an issue. We are experiencing an issue. It's in the present tense in dealing with AI and creativity. And in a writing class, is there room for AI? Old school professor, any professor, I would say no, because you want to learn how to write, not have a machine write for you. But as I was talking to a number of the students, one student who is very conscientious and did not use AI to write something for her, but did use it to check to see if her grammar and punctuation and things like that were in alignment. And then she was going on to tell me other things that how she uses AI. And this is a huge discussion that is not going to end probably ever, but certainly not anytime soon. But what she described to me was if she didn't use it at all, that she would probably get a C. But by using it, she can get an A. And she has a job, and her job encourages the use of AI, although it also encourages independent creative thought because she's doing marketing work and they hired her for her brain, and her brain actually has a lot more info specific to the industry she's in and the company she works for than the AI she's using anyhow has. And so we were going back and forth about the human brain, the knowledge that we have, and this use of technology today and what we can do about it. And by the way, I interviewed my very dear friend, Dr. Lejeune Terry Cornish, who is the president of Ithaca College. Her interview will air next month, I believe, on the other Dreamleapers platform. Anyhow, she talked to me about the importance of HI with AI, human intelligence with artificial intelligence, because without the human intelligence, what do you have? And this is all kind of a swirl of thoughts and discussions for probably all of us because AI is so predominant and here to stay. But as I was talking to the student who said, the difference between not using AI and using it is from a C to an A. And she said at her job, she has become so efficient at cranking out work at light speed, because if you've ever used AI, you could ask it a question and it'll answer it in 10 to 30 seconds. If it's a really challenging question, maybe it takes a little bit longer, but not much. Well, if you're writing something on your own, who knows how long it takes? Sometimes it just flows out. Sometimes, especially because you should be editing it, it takes time to go back and work on it. And when she said that to me about the C to an A, I said to her, look, if you allow yourself to grow from the actual C, then you can actually become an A student, not an AI A student. If you allow yourself to fail, if you allow yourself to be vulnerable so that you can learn and figure out, oh, what did I not do right here? How can I do this differently so that I'm applying the knowledge that I'm gaining so that I'm more efficient, proficient, attuned, whatever it is? What if I allow myself to fail? What if I allow myself to not be perfect so that I can learn? Seriously, I'm asking all of us this question because when I was speaking with the student who is absolutely sincere, hardworking, not consciously trying to get over, but feeling the pressure to perform and to excel at a level that is hard to maintain. So we have somebody who's written, AI could never birth Picasso, though, even though it can replicate his work. Okay, it can replicate anything. Put it in there, it can make it again. Give it some prompts, it can make something amazing, but the prompts are coming from your brain, right? I spoke to a fine artist recently who told me he does paintings of children and got into trouble using a photograph that he had gotten permission in writing to use his photograph of a child, but then the mother wanted to sue him for uh, being paid a higher rate. And the way that he resolved to not have that problem again was to make AI figures so that they aren't an actual person. And what he was explaining to me, and as an artist, you can do whatever you want, it's your work. As an artist, he was explaining to me that what he owns are the prompts. What he tells AI to create, this kind of eye, this kind of lip, this kind of hand, whatever it is, that he's telling it everything. And everything that he says and fine tunes is what this thing becomes. As I listened, I saw this is his process. He is figuring out how to use AI to his advantage. He is not pretending that he painted a person. He is being honest and transparent and saying, these are my AI generated creations. And he's having fun with it. And what I appreciated in talking to him was learning his process and appreciating the transparency. What I don't like, what I don't think is honest, is if you pretend that you did something when you didn't do it. So in writing, if you pretend that you wrote something, but actually AI wrote it, that what we call plagiarism. Rather than do that, learn. Back to the message for today. Don't be afraid to fail. Get good at something by practicing. Get good at something by learning how to do it, trying it out, stumbling a bit until you figure it out. Get good at it because you do 5, 10, 15 iterations. As a writer, I don't know that I've turned anything in without editing it. Sometimes, now more than ever, because I've been writing for so long, I'm able to fine tune the wordsmithing so that I don't have to go back in and change it that many times. It's usually pretty tight for starters, but there's nothing wrong with editing 1,000 times over. Editing for, okay, I could try this approach or I could try that approach. Another thing in my classes, we learn, I'm teaching the students different approaches to storytelling. So different story formats that you can use when you want to tell a story, when you want to write a story. Well, if you tell AI, write this story in Wall Street Journal format, write this story in inverted pyramid format, in list format, and in any of the other many formats that exist, you didn't learn how to do it. You asked the machine to do it. You didn't get practice in stringing those sentences together. You asked something else to do it. So I implore you, allow yourself space to get good at something, to not be good at first. Allow yourself stumbling room. Didn't do so well on that. I can try it again. Allow yourself space to make mistakes, to make big mistakes. It's way better to make a mistake than to lie. And lying to yourself is one of the worst mistakes ever. Convincing yourself that you know how to do something that you don't know how to do. It is bad enough trying to convince somebody else, but if you try to convince yourself that you're good at something that you don't know how to do, that's foolish. It's much better to learn, to study, take the class, read the book, ask the expert. Whatever you can do to get good at something, do that. Figure out your aptitude. Do you ever, and I'm talking a lot about class because I'm teaching class now, but do you remember whenever you were in school, Do you remember often in classes, there'll be an aptitude test at the beginning. So your professor gives you an evaluation to have a sense of where you are. And even though it's a class, a group of people, individually, each person is at a different level. And so if the instructor gives you an aptitude test and learns, oh, she's good at this, but she needs help with this. He's good at that, but this part is pretty weak. Then that professor is able to say to you, here's what you can do to strengthen this part of your work. As opposed to assuming everybody is great in the same way, and we're not. Human beings are not like that. Assuming that everybody should be at a certain level, while we'd love for that to be true, people are educated in so many different ways that it doesn't work like that. And I say this about school, but honestly, this is about the school of life. Wherever you are, somebody knows more than you, somebody knows less than you. Somebody knows about whatever the topic is at hand really well, somebody doesn't. Where do you fit in and how can you learn? So let's look at the quote that I found from the wonderful Brene Brown, who many of you may enjoy reading and hearing. But Brene Brown had this very simple quote: there is no innovation and creativity without failure, period. Okay, do you hear this? There is no innovation and creativity without failure, period. I want you to take that in. There is no innovation and creativity without failure, period. That means you're not going to get to that burst of awareness, that you know, that breakthrough. Ah, now I get it. You're not going to get there without stumbling. It's not possible. You have to stumble. You have to puzzle. You have to figure it out. You have to go, oh, that's it. That's not right. What could be right? What could be better? Brene Brown said there is no innovation and creativity without failure, period. And I love that. And someone just wrote in here that this is great for students. And it is an important message for children today, Michelle says. It is, because we put so much pressure on everyone, don't we? Especially our kids. You need to be great. You need to be. And hey, I grew up with my father's message to us was excellence is the only option. That's different from perfection, by the way. There was the understanding, there is the understanding that you strive to be your absolute best. And I still strongly believe that. Being your being your best does not mean being perfect. It means striving to do the best that you can do. It means learning from your mistakes. It means asking questions so that you can figure out how to navigate to next. Innovation, figuring it out, puzzling it with others, being mindful of who you spend time engaging as you're contemplating things. Don't waste your time talking to people who don't care about the topic or really don't have much insight. Choose what you're going to talk about and with whom. And that doesn't mean that, well, see, this notion of smart, I was about to say that doesn't mean that you only want to talk to smart people. Everybody has something to contribute, but what do people have to contribute to a particular thing that you are puzzling? How can you learn from others? How can you listen thoughtfully and without judgment to others so that you can learn? How can you sit thoughtfully and without judgment and listen to yourself? We are often our biggest critics. We just, you know, um, I'm on the board of a charity, and every year we have to do self-evaluations and evaluations of our team members. And there are all kinds of questions. It's yes or no, and then you have a chance to write a few sentences. And so, as we were thinking about our team members and contemplating thoughtfully, what do we think so and so has been good at this year? What might they work on to improve next year? Uh, and then it comes to doing it for yourself. I will tell you without a question, and it wasn't premeditated, but I was the harshest on myself. Did I think I was doing a great job? Could I do better? Absolutely. What could I do better at? There was a list in my head. And it's not that that isn't true. They were good things, but I'm mentioning it because we are often most critical of ourselves. We often don't believe that whatever it is that we have put before us that we can do because of some failing. I mentioned to you at this creativity conference, my topic was confidence is your superpower. And I want to share with you that the point about that is if you believe in yourself, if you believe that you have the capacity to dream a big dream and manifest it, to do whatever you have said you're going to do, then you have a much better chance of being successful. And what happens to a lot of people is that doubt creeps in, and then we start saying, oh, I don't know if I can do that. So and so is better at that than I am. I'm not even going to try because somebody already has tried and done a better job. I don't have something. I don't have time. I don't have money. I don't have uh, the intelligence, the vision, whatever it is, the I don't have, the doubts often cripple us. The fear of failure frequently cripples us. Oh, I know I've tried this so many times and I can't figure it out. I'm just not smart enough. It's taking too much time. I don't know what to do. I'm giving up. Now, sometimes there are projects that we work on and we realize this isn't worth it. That's okay. When you realize that, then stop doing that thing. That's okay. That's evaluating and deciding, I've given this enough time. Now I'm going to move on to something else. That's very different from, ugh, I can't, I can't figure it out. I'm not good enough. That doubt that erodes at our core. When you feel that, that's the time to pause. That's the time to go, okay, what worked, what didn't work? What can I learn from the mistakes that I made? Why did this fail? How can I approach it differently? Is there something I can do to salvage this? Is there another way in to whatever it is that I'm puzzling right now? Do you ask yourself those questions? I'm curious as to whether you do, because it makes a big difference. Let's see. I'm looking at Michelle made a comment. Let's see. As a former publisher, I think about if I had AI, how much would it have saved time, money, and resources? On the other hand, I know that it was my creativity that birthed the publication. Yeah, so just back to, look, we're going to probably, just as a people, we're going to be talking about uh, AI forever because it's here to stay. Laura says, oh, you're welcome for the provocative conversation and sharing. You know, what I see, Laura, and why I learned this from my mother in particular. We learn by example. And when we share things that we've experienced and have processed, so there's a beginning, middle, and end, it can often help other people when we are honest and do this. So I encourage it for all of us to do because we can learn from each other. There's always something that we can learn. Things that really puzzle us, we need to keep contemplating and talking about them with people who are thoughtful on these topics, not people who are dogmatic, I know and you don't know. That's, to me, that's not helpful. I'm not interested in getting in an argument with someone. I'm interested in exploring what things mean, how they impact others, and if there are tools, how I can use tools to my advantage rather than become dependent on those tools. By the way, somebody said to me when we were talking about AI, "Oh, you sound like people sounded when they invented the calculator and people weren't going to be able to do math anymore." Well, I want to say, as a non-math person, I don't know what it would have been like if we didn't have calculators when I was coming up, but that's not my strong suit. So calculators are helpful for me in order to do basic math. As a writer, I don't want anything doing it for me. Now, you may not be a writer. You may be whatever you are and may have no problem with AI writing for you. That's fine. I just think you want to be honest and don't ever let the machine, the computer program, whatever it is, don't ever let that take over your brain, replace you, be a stand-in for your brain. Because to me, that's real failure if you don't allow your brain to show up first. And I don't think that's why we are on the planet. I think all these things can be tools that can help us, but the biggest tool that you have is your brain. And then the inner fortitude, the inner strength that we all do have. Some of us need to cultivate that muscle more than others. But if you allow yourself to make a mistake and learn from it, you grow. Brene says that you must be willing to accept failure in order to innovate. Because how many times do you try something before it's right? Before it's right for the moment, right? How many times do you try something before it's, okay, this is what works. This is what works. And we do have a couple of minutes left. My producer put up the note, if you want to join in this conversation, we used to do this all the time. So we only have a few minutes left, but if anybody wants to, you can come to harrietcole.com/inspiration and we could pop you on if you have any comments real quick. But we should probably start doing that again. Last year, we regularly invited participants to come on screen to talk with me about whatever the topic was. If you want to, quickly, you can do it now. Otherwise, we'll make that announcement next week to let folks know that you can. It's great to hear other voices as we are contemplating the different messages for the day, for the week. Because we really, do you know that when I started this part of Dreamleapers, it was during the pandemic, and we were so disconnected and so wanting to be with each other. And so we started this. In the beginning, we did it every day. Actually, Monday through Sunday at first, and then Monday through Friday. And then over the years, we changed and went to once a week, so that it was just a little bit more manageable as a once a week activity. And Dreamleapers, by the way, is 10 years old. I started the Dreamleapers initiative platform 10 years ago as an educational platform designed to help people access and activate their dreams. And what we have done over these 10 years, we hosted, before COVID, we hosted many in-person events. We had a big retreat in Harlem, followed by monthly engagements where we had guests come to talk about how to, well, we did vision boarding, we did how to market your dream, how to finance your dream. We talked about different kinds of dreams. Everybody wants to write a book. We've done several workshops on how to publish a book, all kinds of things. So we are going to be doing some of those things again online, in some classes online. We did the 100-day plan last year. This is amazing. I just did this at the Creativity Conference. One of the best things I've ever done for myself. But basically, Dreamleapers is here to help people leap into their dreams. And on this broadcast, we unpack an inspirational quote. On Saturdays, I interview people who are manifesting their dreams. Just this past weekend, we had Blair Underwood, the actor, who wrote a beautiful book in his mother's voice, the book she always wanted to write. And it's called A Soldier's Wife. We interview all kinds of folks to inspire you to leap into your dreams. And so I hope that all of this work is helping people to know anything is possible. Absolutely anything is possible if you put your mind to it. That's what my mother used to say, and it is so incredibly true. And so I just invite you to stick with us. Yeah, Fallon, you can show that slide of what this month we've having some wonderful guests. We started the month with Jay Ivey, Blair Underwood, Desiree Rogers, who's from Fashion Fair and Black Opal Cosmetics. She owns them now. Paulette Cleghorn, who is a bridal designer. We have such a broad range of people every month, and that's who's this month. Those that have already passed, you can watch on harrietcole.com. But we're making this content for you, so hopefully you enjoy it. We will see you again next week for Dreamleapers Inspiration. Tune in Saturday for Dreamleapers, and we'll be talking to Desiree Rogers. Until next time, have a great day and make it count. Namaste.